Hi, and welcome to this episode of In Search of Courage and Meaning. I'm Abi from Abi Keene Healing. I'm a body worker, a healer. And as I say, I'm mostly a human being searching for meaning in this strange life of ours. And on this journey, I am meeting my fellow beings and asking them about how meaning and courage is showing up for them in their life, in the hope that if you're listening, these kind of conversations can be inspiring for you to question those things in your life and have open-hearted conversations with others. And today I have Iryna here with me.
Yeah,
Thank you
hi.
so much.
You're welcome. Happy to be here. I love talking about meaning and courage. So yeah. Very excited about this. Yay.
Yeah, well, that's why I asked you, because I know that you are open to talk about things like that. And so my first question for you is, what would you like us to know about you?
So I loved what you said about being a human being. I resonate with that. I'm mostly a human being. I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a friend. And I also work as a psychotherapist, a healer, and a mentor for men and women. My main focus is intimacy, vulnerability, helping people really being able to connect very deeply with themselves and then with the other. That's kind of my jam and work that I do. And I know you're a healer as well, so we kind of, that's how we met through that. But I loved how you say that. You said about being a human being most and foremost. Yeah.
Yeah. And that sounds like such an important work. And I just love that you use the word vulnerability because, sorry, a storm is just starting and the door just slammed. Because I feel like in my hope with these conversations too, is that if we can speak from a more vulnerable place inside, we might be able to allow others to feel okay with their own vulnerability. So that leads me to my next question for you. I'd like to know what you think or what you feel courage in life is. And would you be willing to share how courage showed up for you in your life?
Yeah, thank you. I love that question. And what comes to mind when I think about courage or feel into it is our ability to meet, so quote unquote, negative states. I just feel like I've always been conditioned that you're supposed to feel okay. Like you're not supposed to feel strong emotions. You're not supposed to exhibit them. You're supposed to be kind of quiet and not to disturb others with your states. And especially when I moved to US when I was 18. I'm from Belarus, which is Eastern Europe. We actually have a little more tolerance for darkness. If you think of Dostoevsky and all those writers, we do have a little more like fascination and sort of permission to go there, especially when we drink. But in America, it was such a focus on being happy and positive and sort of like this smiling and this niceness. And I love that on one side, but then on the other side, what are we supposed to do with all the other half, because life is whole and we have white and black and dark and light and sadness and joy. And if we only allow one half to be present in our life, what are we supposed to do with the other half?
Right.
And to me, courage was finally allowing. So I resisted the darkness. I resisted the negative states. I don't like that term, but quote unquote, right? The states that we don't, depression, fear, all this, like really what feels dark and heavy states. And I resisted them.
And before you move forward with that, do you mind saying, how did you resist it?
Yeah, it's like when I would, and I see it with, I don't know if you resonate, I see it with clients a lot. It's like when they would come up, when it's like pop up their head or their presence, I was like, oh no. And I'm not looking there. It's like pushing it away and distracting myself with Distracting. Yeah. Okay. And I used to drink actually, up until I faced my depression. So I would have a drink, and drink would, make me feel better, and sort of course it's caught up the morning after, but in the moment it's like, oh no, I just want to feel good. I just want to alter my state to the point where I don't have to face it's escapism,
Right.
escaping your feelings. And
Yeah.
I've done it a lot, first 25, 26 years of my life, because that's what society sort of, I don't know, I felt like society is encouraging that. We have movie theaters and so much entertainment. So it's like, okay, if you don't feel good, go watch a movie, like do something to escape how you feel, go gamble, go bowling, go meet friends, go out, go. So yeah, I just felt like for me, the courage was to finally say, okay, I'm willing to feel it. It's uncomfortable, but I'm willing to feel it because, because I didn't have choice. But I also at one point did make a choice to say, okay, I'm willing to feel it. I'm willing to feel this uncomfortable feeling and be with it. And I
so
do
what do you
feel
mean?
like, yeah.
What do you mean you didn't have a choice?
Well, for me, it's so the escapism and pushing away. We have the saying. I learned it while studying psychology, that emotions that you don't feel go in the basement and lift weights, meaning they become stronger, right?
Yeah.
Or Carl Jung said, "What we resist persists."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we know that from our healing work, right? What we don't look at grows in our consciousness. Mm-hmm. What we deny, what we avoid, what we escape, it's like we get immediate relief and we feel better for a little bit, but it's still there growing.
Right.
So for me, it grew to the point where it kind of broke down all the defenses, all the ability to escape, and it became so big that I couldn't escape. It was, and then when I was basically like so depressed that I had trouble getting up 2 in the morning. I woke up and be like, oh my God, like it's here. There's nothing I could do. I couldn't escape anymore.
Wow. Because it was basically stopping you from living, but we're not talking about stopping you from thriving, just stopping you from living even.
Right. Living. Yeah. Well, it wanted me to finally face it, right? It was just like, I'm here. You can't escape from me.
Yeah.
But it did stop me from living and functioning as well.
Yeah.
So
then what? I mean, it was staring you in the face, and it was, now you're at a point where you can't even like get yourself, not even motivated to get out of bed.
Yeah.
Now, where do you turn? What do you do with that?
Yeah. So that's a very hard time. And for people who experience that, like that depression, you're starting to feel very isolated too, because everybody's sort of functioning and not feeling that, and you feeling that, and you feel like you're such a burden to everyone. So it's very dark, isolating, lonely time. And to me, that there came a moment where it was like, okay, that's where I am. Acceptance, right? That's where the courage, I think there's a lot of courage in seeing things as they are.
Yes.
and not trying to avoid or deny or any of those escape, right? And just being like, yep, okay, it's hard. Yeah, that's where I am right now. What I have two choices, right? I can die or I can start healing. And well, I've chose start healing. Thanks for I'm grateful for that choice. So it's the courage probably came later, because in the beginning it's sort of, I didn't have a choice. It was felt like it was happening to me, and the choice came when I did enter therapy. I found a therapist and started working with it. And we did basically, yeah, like facing it. And I read the book on like Dark Night of the Soul, and I found meaning in that. So that's what gave me strength
Yeah.
and courage to see the meaning of it.
Yeah. Can you say more about that? That seems to me quite significant, because it's not only, okay, avoidance. I'm not going to look at the things. I'm not going to look at things. Then no choice. I have to look at things. But then it feels like there's another dimension there of like, not only am I going to look at things, but I can find meaning in them. Do you mind saying a little bit more?
Yeah. It is significant, because you can look at, say, if you're depressed or you can't get out of bed, as something that's like in a way of you functioning, something quote unquote like bad happening to you, and everybody is doing the thing, advancing in their career, and here you are at 25, in bed, can't get up. Like, that's pretty, can get up. You can really get into this victim state of mind, like, why is this happening to me? It's not fair. And what helped me to shift the perspective is to learn about the dark night of the soul, which is quite a common experience in spiritual traditions, and where they say this is an awakening moment where your old functioning is not working anymore and something deeper is emerging. But because you're still very much in your old functioning, old persona, old that surface, ego mask level, that's dying. So it's a process of dying of old ways. So everything that you did there, you just had to stop.
Yeah.
So the dark night of the soul for me was like full stop on everything. Can't work, I quit my job, can't hang out with my friends who are not good for me and we're drinking, can't, I even moved, I was in New York City and I moved to California because the sun, and it just felt more healing. So it's just everything needed to change, in such a wake-up call. It's basically a wake-up call, like, look what you're doing, it's not working. And I needed to see that, because I was just not looking.
So when you look back, I mean, that to me, just not being involved, like not knowing you back then, it seems like a gift. Like you were given a gift, and your depression and like the rock bottom was actually a gift, because it showed you like who you are, and it showed you what's not working for you. And I mean, do you feel this way now when you look back, how it was like a stepping stone in your life?
Yeah, I definitely feel that. And it's definitely showed me what I wasn't, and that the life I built wasn't mine, or it wasn't true to me. It wasn't anything what I really wanted. It was based on like my parents' expectations, society expectations. So it wasn't true to me. And the depression really showed me like, yeah, it's not working. I don't want to live this life. So I am very grateful to that, because it really reoriented me towards like coming to full stop in life and saying, okay, what do I really want? Who am I? Like, what is this? What feels meaningful, true to me?
Yeah.
And it was like more of a life and death kind of situation, because I literally saw, if I continue that life, I'll self-destruct. And I am very grateful, because a lot of people, don't get to experience that. They're stuck in the life that they created. It's not theirs, not working for them, but they don't experience full stop and full immersion into the darkness. They sort of function. They function.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it makes me think of something you said at the beginning when you talked about sort of the light and the dark. And especially here in this country, there's this expectation to be happy, to be successful, to be, sort of airbrushed magazine. and the pressure that it puts on people, you know, to perform a certain way or to fit a certain mold. How has it been for you to let go of that?
Yeah, that's like that. So that's the experience that I had, that was stripped away, and I did feel like that was power greater than me. Like, you know, it did feel like a spiritual awakening experience where something else was coming through me saying, well, yeah, it's all death, like that, all self-image, like what you said, like fitting in the mold, being a certain way, that's not life. That's not even a life, you know. There's no energy in that. That's just empty. It's not even like, yeah, it was so clear, and it didn't, you know, it didn't feel like I figured it out. It sort of was given to me, and like, yeah, like, look, yeah, do you want that? And yeah, and it was a big gift at the time, because I let go of very, you know, lucrative career and business and decided to become a therapist, which is still what I do now, and which I love. So that was, and I just didn't care about money at all, survival, just, it wasn't important to me. What was important was, is my life meaningful? And what would make my life meaningful?
So what makes your life meaningful now?
To be me, to do what I love, to wake up and feel like I'm following my own movement, my own from inside, my own desires, my own energy, and not somebody else, right? So I've chosen my first career in accounting because everybody's saying, like, it's such a stable job, you know, you always have work as an accountant and as an auditor, and you can make good money within like 2-3 years of your career, you know. And I was like, okay, yeah, great, sounds good, right? And I started doing it, and I was like, oh my god, every day this. And now, so it's somebody else, right? Somebody else is like, do this, it's good, and not listening to inside. So now it's more like, I do what I love, what lights me up. It's from the inside, and that's what's meaningful. Yeah. So for me, it's not even about helping others, which is like an added bonus. I feel like a lot of people find meaning in helping others, and to me, that's not the driver. Yeah, and I actually, I quite worry about when people say, like, well, I want to help others, and I'm like, it's like, you know, because it's focused on the other. It's still like, I want to make the world a better place, and I'm like, it's missing it, like, to me, because it needs to be selfish. It needs to be self honoring first and foremost, you know?
Right. And you're using the word selfish. It's actually the opposite of what we think selfish is. It's listening to self and coming out from there first. So you don't disregard yourself. You're actually coming from yourself out.
Yeah. You I guess I'm using the word selfish in terms of, like, I'm putting myself first. I'm still putting myself first. Like, so even though I do this work for clients and it's healing for them, it's still, I still like it. I find it interesting, you know? And if I just did it for them, that wouldn't feel right to me.
And you would probably lose a lot of energy and probably end up getting sick. Or, you know.
So that's a little like, so for me, meaning was following that inner impulse, like that movement from inside, not necessarily knowing what it is all the time or having it figured out. I'm like, my purpose of life to help others. No, not like that. But it's more like, okay, meaning is for me to stay connected to myself every day and follow that alive impulse.
Right. And it sounds to me that it's actually in its like core, it's the unknown. So it's not like you don't decide ahead of time, but it's that attentiveness to what now, what is needed now, where am I now, that guides rather than, you know, the aim or the, you know, so I guess what I'm trying to say is that the listening has to happen as you move through life.
Yeah, and that's a fear of unknown is a big one. Comes up with my clients a lot. Like they just want to know, like they want to know, like what is my meaning, what is my purpose. So it's like printed somewhere, you know. So it's like solid, something to hold on to, something to grasp. And I just don't think it's true. I don't think there's solid grasp, like in stone, like saying you are here. It just doesn't feel true to me. To me, it is kind of folding, and you only know the next step.
Right. Yeah.
And which can be super scary for people with trauma and people who haven't experienced that safety in childhood. So that's where our healing work and working with inner child comes in, to help them to feel safe, not knowing.
So if you can have people understand, I guess, one thing to help them in their life, what would you like them to know?
I would love them to know that, well, that they're safe, not knowing all the path. They're safe to not know. They're safe to not know. It's safe to not know. It's okay. It's okay just to be and not know the next 10 steps. And just all we need is to listen what's calling you today. And be staying true to that.
Right. And learn to trust that.
Yeah. Trust that and follow that, because the mind might say, okay, I need to work, right? And really the energy was calling me is to rest or go to the woods. Yeah. And that's I know me and Avi were both right, like business, we need to build business, but then what's calling me today, like what's aligned.
Yeah. Wow, thank you, because that is the reminder that I need with myself, because I tend to push, and when I push, I'm no longer listening to myself at all. I'm trying to just, you know, cross things out of my list. And
and I don't find, I'm noticing it doesn't yield good results, that pushing.
Nor does it make us content.
Yeah. I mean, it might feel productive on one side is like, oh, I've done a lot and it feels good. But then at the end, it's just, it doesn't give us the ultimate satisfaction. And also the results, because the energy we do it in is just not aligned.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all your wisdom and your sharing. Is there anything else that you would like to put out there before we end?
I don't know, nothing comes to mind. I mean, that's I thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you, Abby, exploring this. Yeah, I guess it's for me, because I'm also, we're doing it for each other, right? Like to me, that's what's coming through, is that staying really true to myself and this impulse and inner knowing, inner guidance, inner movement. So that's what I'm taking away, and hope everybody who's listening can take that away and really listen deeply today. Like, what is it for them?
Yes. Thank you for that reminder. And anybody who might be listening, and if you don't know how to listen to yourself, then find somebody who can teach you and guide you, because then you're going to find your inner compass. And thank you so much. And I I will put a link to your website or any details that you'd like
Okay. Mm-hmm.
in the notes under the video. So anybody who wants to read and know more, you know where to find her. Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you so much for being with us today. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to my channel and help spread the love so that we can reach more human beings who might want some inspiration to live more courageously and authentically, and to learn more about my work and how I help women in their midlife reclaim their sense of purpose so that the rest of their life can be spent more joyfully, creatively, and more aligned with who they are now. Just hop over to my website. The link is below, and feel free to sign up for my free consultation. I can't wait to hear the vision that you have for yourself.